Okay, so this is section 2.4. It's multi-step equations. So our goal obviously is I can solve multi-step equations and you'll be solving them all right. So what I have here is a list of possible steps. Now the reason I say they're possible steps is not all of them will apply for every single question that we do. So first of all, in most cases, I want to get rid of brackets. Okay, and the way I get rid of them is distributive law, adding and subtracting like terms. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of any kind of brackets. Then I want to simplify each side of the equal sign first. Okay, so I don't want to start moving things around. I want to simplify each side first, and then I'm going to add and subtract to get variables to one side and add and subtract to get constant numbers, which are constants, to the other side. Then what we do is we want to multiply or divide to get a positive 1x equals something. Okay, so those are pretty much the steps that we're going to follow. Okay, and so let's try some examples together. It says solve. And here's the first one. So first of all, I don't have any brackets, so I don't have to worry about that. The next step is very important. Simplify each side of the equal sign. So it's like having two types of questions in a sense. So I want to simplify this side first. So I'm just covering up the other side. So what terms go together? Well, this 4x and this positive 3x go together. So that's 7x. And my negative 12 doesn't belong to anything. Okay, so I have simplified that side. Then I look at the other side. Well, I can't simplify it, so that means I rewrite it down. So now I have simplified both sides. Now I want to add and subtract to get the variables to one side and then the constants. Okay, so I have 7x's on this side of the equal sign and 5x's on this side. So I have to decide, am I going to move my variables to the left side or right side? It doesn't matter which side you choose, but you make that decision. In most cases, most students will choose to move everything to the left side. So that means I'm going to subtract 5x from the right side, which means I must do that to the other side. Now remember, everything I'm showing you is what I would need to see on a test. So 7x's take away 5x's is going to be 2x's. I still have a negative 12 on the left-hand side, so I have to write it down again. So we only do one thing at a time. Sorry, that looks a little messy. And here the x's have canceled because a 5, take away a 5, leaves me 0 x's, and I have a positive 2. So now I have all my variables to the one side. Now I need to get all my constant numbers to the other. So that means I need to get this negative 12 to the other side. The way I do that is I add 12 to both sides. Why? Negative 12 plus 12 equals 0. So when I do that, I end up having 2x. Negative 12 plus 12 is 0. 2 plus 12 is 14. So now I have all my variables on one side of the equal sign, all my constants to the other side. Now the final step said multiply or divide to get a positive 1x. Well, in other words, how do I get rid of that 2x? How do I get rid of the 2? The opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So if I divide 2 on that side, I divide 2 on this side. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that cancels out. So I'm left with a 1x equals 14 divided by 2 is 7. All right, next question. Okay, now this question, I do have a bracket. So that's the first thing according to the steps I must get rid of. So it means I have to distribute the 5 into the bracket. So 5 times 2 is 10, so I have a 10x. 5 times a negative 3 is a negative 15. The other side I have no brackets, so I'm just going to recopy it down. Notice for the most part between my lines, I'm pretty well keeping my equal sign uh, directly below, almost directly below the other side. Sorry, I got rid of that. Okay, so again, I'm at the third step. Get all my variables to one side. So I have x's on both sides, so I've decided that I'm going to move my variables to my left side. Opposite of minus 2x would be a positive 2x. Notice I'm not just putting a plus 2, I'm putting a plus 2x so that there's no question whether I'm doing variables or actual constant numbers. So 10 plus 2 is going to be a 12x, and minus 15 equals negative 2 plus 2, the x's are gone, and I have a 6. So now I have all my variables to my left side, so now I want to get rid of the negative 15. Opposite of negative 15 is positive 15, so I'm going to add 15 to both sides. When I do that, I end up with a 12x, and it's going to equal 21. And now I need to get rid of the 12. Opposite of multiplying by 12 is dividing by 12. And now what I end up with is x over 21 twelfths. Now, I'm not going to change it to a decimal. I'm going to reduce it. What goes into both top and bottom is a 3. So I'm going to divide top and bottom by 3. So I'm left with 7 quarters. Okay, we don't have to change it to mixed. That's reduced in proper form, and that is fine. Okay, then we get to a monster. And what's the first thing that you notice? It's like there's just way too much going on. What's going on here is we have rounded brackets, we have squared brackets. So we have to go and start looking in. Now I'm going to take my magic pen. So you can see if I look at the first line, I have square brackets. Okay, but then if I look in the square brackets, I have rounded brackets. So the first thing I have to do is I have to go all the way into the middle and deal with those rounded brackets. So that means that I'm going to recopy down everything except what I'm working on. So 2x, and then I have this negative 5 is multiplying everything by that rounded bracket. So I have a negative 10x. Then I have negative 5 times the positive 1, so I have a negative 5. And that rounded bracket's done now, and then I have a minus 4. Okay, so that side is done, all I can do. Now I go look at the next side. The next side also has square brackets, but then I have to look in deeper and I have a rounded bracket. So that's what I'm going to do first. Okay, you cannot go 4 minus 2. You have to follow order of operations. So I have 4. Negative 2 times x is going to be a negative 2x. Negative 2 times a positive 1 is a negative 2. All right, next step. Again, step 1 says get rid of brackets. Well, I still have brackets. So I'm going to go inside the brackets there and put things together that belong together. So when I look in here, you can see that we have a 2x, a negative 10x, and I guess that's it. So 2x minus 10x is 8x's. And then I'm left with constant terms in there. Negative 5 minus 4, negative 9. And the same for the right side, 2. And then let's go inside here. Well, I have a 4 and a negative 2. 4 minus 2 is 2, and I have a negative 2x. All right, I'm still at step 1. Step 1 said get rid of the brackets. So now I can go and do the distributive law. So now I'm going to take that 3 in to both of those terms. So I end up with a 24x, a negative 27, and on the other side, I'm going to multiply that 2 inside the bracket. So I end up with a 4 minus a 4x. Finally, we've got rid of all the brackets. So if I go back to my page, all right, so we've got rid of the brackets. It took us quite a few steps. Simplify each side. Well, there's nothing that belongs together here, nothing that belongs together here. So the next step says add and subtract to get variables to one side. So I have 24x's here and a negative 4x on this side. So I'm going to move all my variables to the left side. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. And when I do that, I end up with 28x's on the left side. I still have a negative 27. And on the right side, I'm left with a 4, and the negative 4x plus 4x is gone. So now I have all my variables to one side. Now I need to get all my numbers, my constants, to the other side. So I'm going to add 27 to both sides because that's the opposite of negative 27. And when I do that, I end up with 28x. The 27s have canceled. And I end up with a 31. And now all I need to do is get rid of the 28 in front of the x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 28. And I am left with x equals, and this time this is already in lowest terms, so I'd leave it as 31 over 28. So again, I don't always get this beautiful answer when I'm done. This is still a beautiful number if numbers are beautiful. It might look a little messy to you, but that is our final answer. So take a look at that whole solution. That whole solution took you approximately half a page to do, if not a little bit longer. But following those steps will work. Sometimes you have to do, look, for, as far as the brackets go, it took us quite a bit to get rid of the brackets, all of them. That is about as difficult as it gets as far as brackets go. The questions will, some of them will be a little more difficult tomorrow when we actually add some rational numbers, in other words, some fractions to our questions. Okay, so there are some questions for you to do as well as a worksheet. Practice makes perfect, as they say.